Kenny Hilberg Ross, welcome to the show. 25 plus years of experience. We're going to get some good meat here. What is the viewer going to walk away with today?
People get into real estate because they think it's flexible, and it is flexible as long as you're willing to work 24 hours a day.
It's just which 24.
Exactly. What 24?
All right. So here we go. Kenny, how long you've been in the business? Almost 25 years.
Yeah, almost
Give
25
us
years.
a little bit background on what you've been through.
Yeah. So I started my career in Austin, Texas, my hometown. I practiced there for 10 years, did very well. And then I kind of was burning out. So I decided to reward myself by moving to Nantucket Island. Went to Nantucket Island and that's where I met you, the Cape and Islands. And I practiced there for 14 years, I think 7 of which I was the sales manager, the firm we both worked for. And then about a year ago, I moved to Chicagoland, this time for love. So I've been here in a brand new market, reinventing myself basically for the third time.
Yeah.
So,
And how does it feel to be, you were always selling and when you were on Nantucket, you were managing the office as well, correct?
right. Yeah. And, it kind of needed to be that way in Nantucket because of such an odd market, but agents expected that of their manager. But yeah, there were some great deals and I loved the people and I loved the beauty of the island, but at times it was a rat race.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I bet it is. And then it's all done, right? In the summer.
Exactly. That's right.
So what would you say your clients know you best for?
My clients, I make it look so easy for them. I really do. And they have no idea what goes into getting their deal done. But they do know me for that just impeccable customer service. And, I'm the guy that will go out of my way. I don't care what it is. I don't care if I have to clean toilets. I don't care if I have to bake cookies. I don't care what it is. I'm going to do it just, to make that transaction a success and a joy for them.
Okay.
They just think he's a happy-go-lucky guy.
There you go. Yeah, some agents will actually produce or share some of the angst that's going on behind the scenes just so they get the credit.
Yeah, and I do that from time to time in my communication.
Just so they know right.
Just so they know I'm not sitting here twiddling my thumbs.
Right. But you're not going to stress them out.
No, not at all. In fact, I'm
good.
going to have that problem solved before they even hear of it.
Right. Good point. So what would surprise people?
People always think when they meet me that I am an only child. Read into that whatever you want. And that I'm from the Northeast. And I am a 6th generation Central Texan, and I'm the 9th of 10 children.
Wow.
So
You do not sound like you're from Texas.
People always tell me that. I think my mother beat it out of me.
Yeah. A market. It's always local. What's the word right now? What's going on in your market? What's the one word that would say to sum it up?
Improving,
Okay.
developing. I'm pretty fortunate here in the Chicago area. If you are lucky enough to get a listing and you price it well, it's going to sell very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's some condition issues that people right now, it'll kind of scare them away. But if it's priced well, it's going to sell.
In what market does that not work?
Exactly.
Right.
It's the same on Nantucket. I still have my license there and still keep in touch with all the agents there. And those homes that are priced well, they're moving.
Yeah.
What's
that?
Others are chasing themselves down. They price too high, and
Right.
I've never seen so many price drops.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of that going on. And so the challenges for many is that the homeowner, the seller, doesn't want to hear the truth.
They still think we're in the market from 5 years ago or 4 years ago.
With an agent earlier today, and she refused 4 listings because they would not listen to her.
Yeah.
It's not worth her time, her reputation, and it matters.
No, I think that, she'll be the next one to get it.
That's probably right. That's right.
The next day.
Give us something funny that's happened to you. What's a standout client moment or deal that taught you something?
Yeah, I have short-term memory loss, I think, because I put a lot of this stuff out of my mind. And I actually called my old business partner and life partner back in Texas. And I said, hey, do we have any exciting stuff or any crazy stuff go on? And he just started rattling them off.
Right.
And probably the top of the list was, I was so green. I was just starting out. I was scared and I was nervous, but I was doing everything that I was supposed to do. And I picked an area that I wanted, a geographic area that I wanted to farm. And I sent out my very first mailing. It was a beautiful, wasn't even a postcard. I put it in a an envelope where I wrote their names and their addresses, put the hand stamp on it. And I mean, it was I mailed it on a Friday and I get a call on a Monday, and I'm like, "Oh, this is easy." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Little did I know. But the guy who called me, he said, "I got your mailer and wanted to know if, yeah, we could chat and if you could come over and see my place." And I said, "Absolutely. When do you want me to be there? I'll be right there." I have nothing else to do.
Right.
So I ended up going over there that afternoon. And he said, "But before you come over, I have to ask you a question. Do you smoke?" And I said, "Well, I don't know what that has to do with real estate, but no." And he says, "Okay, good." He goes, "I'm disabled and I'm on an oxygen tank, and smoking is kind of a hazard." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." No, I don't smoke, and I'll be right there. So I go in, and this gentleman, nice as he could be, was on an oxygen tank to breathe, using it to breathe, and he had friends over, and I looked around, and they were smoking like fiends. I mean, they were smoking right
Right.
here in the house. And then he said to me, he goes, "Hey, I have to put some animals away before I show you around the house." And I'm like, "Well, how many animals do you have?" He had 7 dogs, 5
Oh,
cats, and like probably 15 birds. And the smell in the
how
house was
yeah.
just
That was my next question.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then the animals didn't get along with each other. So in order for me to go to one area of the house, we had to like isolate the animals so they wouldn't get into the other part of the house to see the other birds, the other dogs, whatever. It really was a menagerie of craziness. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around and I'm kind of backing up and I'm talking to the guy, and all of a sudden I fall through the floor. I literally fell through the floor. And fortunately, I didn't go too far. I didn't hurt anything, and apologized for ruining the floor. And I'm looking around, and the house hasn't been updated in 30 years and everything's falling apart. So, again, I was so green, and I don't know what possessed me to say this, but I said, "Well, so and so, let's go talk. Would you have any place to move and to get out of this house while I'm selling it?" And he kind of scratches his head and he says, "Well, yeah, I could probably move in with my son." And I said, "Okay, you know what? That's the only way I can sell this house. I need you to move out. I need you to get all the stuff out of here, and then I'll sell it." So he agreed to all of that, but I was
That's
just
yeah.
very direct with him. And most new agents aren't that direct. Out, and I helped, get rid of all the stuff he didn't want anymore, completely empty. And it's looking decent, right? So I'm in a showing, and all of a sudden I start itching. Like my pants start itching, my legs start itching, but I'm trying not to let on because I'm in a showing,
Yeah.
And so finally the showing's over, and I, shut out the lights and I run home, and I'm just like, "What is going on?" And I pulled up my pant legs, and I was covered with fleas. But,
Nasty.
but and it happened every time I went over there. From then on, I warned people. I'm like, "Look, there are fleas here, so wear something that take off relatively soon." But you know what? This is what I learned. I was just really upfront with that guy, and he respected that, and he really needed to sell,
Right.
and he did everything that I asked him to do. And at the end of the day, it was pretty much sold for lot value, which he knew too. But at the end of the day, he made a lot of money. I met some great people, got my name out there. The buyers I ended up representing as well, and they became great friends and clients. So, but it just all came from just being honest,
Yeah.
and just really telling him that only you need to sell. This is how we're going to do it. Can you work with me?
That's great.
Yeah, that was a
That's
long
cool.
story.
Yeah, no, that's I had multiple pitfalls in that one,
Yeah,
in the floor. That's crazy. Yeah, animals can really stink up a house.
boy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
it wasn't just stinking it up. I mean, the floors were stained. You name it.
yeah,
I
I bet.
ripped out all the carpet myself.
You're a brave man.
Yeah,
So, what you've been in multiple markets. You've been in
yeah.
Chicago for how long
A
now?
year, just a year. Yeah.
So, what works for you that maybe did or didn't work in the past, or is it the same no matter where you are?
You know what? It's almost the same. And I remember as sales manager, I was preaching all this stuff to my agents and telling them what they needed to do, trying to coach them, trying to empower them. And I just said to myself, "Look, you have to do exactly what you were telling those agents that they needed to do. You're starting over again. Nobody knows you from Adam. You're in a big market. So just start with the fundamentals." And the fundamentals for me were starting farming and starting the mailers. And, it's different from when I did it in Austin almost 25 years ago, because now I have people's email addresses and I can get them from the tax rolls.
Right.
So that can save some money. But at the same time, I still think that the physical mail piece is important. So I'm doing that. And then, I knew nobody or very few people here. So I just started getting as involved as I possibly could, volunteering everywhere. And, once people get to know me, they realize what I do, they realize I'm not an idiot. That's when they start to ask me to help them.
How long did it take you to start seeing some signs of life in your business?
I mean, honestly, it probably took I was lucky because I'm not a rookie. It probably took 6 months before I got any sort of recognition. So really, it's just been the last 6 months that my business has been picking up a little bit, but it's still developing. I mean, it's nowhere near where I want it to be, but I know I can get it there even in this market. And
And you work alone, correct?
I do work alone. Yeah, I
Have you
do.
ever considered a team?
I've been asked to be a part of a team, and in Austin, I did have a unlicensed assistant and a buyer's agent, and it worked well. But it took everything I could to just give up control. I'm a little bit of a control freak, but at some point, I do also realize that just to scale, you're going to have help of some sort.
With the experience of going into 3 different markets, it's like you said earlier, it's like starting all over again.
Right.
What do you recommend for somebody that is going into a new market or somebody that is truly new to the business?
Yeah. So, this profession is not for the lighthearted. It's very difficult and it requires a lot of work. It is not easy. It's not even easy when you've been in it 25 years.
Right.
So, I mean, immediately, besides the systems, it's you almost have to have this outlook where you just know you're going to work all the time. You're going to skip family dinners. You're going to not be able to go hang out with friends. You're not going to be able to go to the movies because you're just going to be constantly developing business. But the thing that I want to reiterate is that I think a schedule and routine is just adamant. You have to have that. And when I say schedule, it could be as detailed as yes, every day I'm going to sit down at 3 o'clock and return calls. But it can also be as simple as I'm going to get up every morning. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to come home, eat a great breakfast, and then I'm going to hit my day. And I think that if you don't, especially if you've never worked alone before, which you're working alone. I think it's important to have that routine, to have that schedule down. Later, you can adjust it.
Sure, absolutely. Once the client calls, you've been trying to get in front of them. They finally want to see you, and you have 3 o'clock on your calendar for your time to return calls, and they want to see you at 3 o'clock. What do you do?
You know what? Great question, by the way. I tell them, I said, you know what? 3 o'clock is the time of day every day that I sit down and call my clients. They're expecting my call. Is there any other time that would work for you? Even if it's 3:45. And I find that when you give them that type of answer, they realize, oh man, this guy really is a professional. You know,
Right.
so they're willing to work with you.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have any calls to make, that's probably a good thing to say.
That's right. Yeah, I remember my first time asking for permission to see my family on a Sunday, and
Yeah.
they wanted to see me, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no problem, we can do it, whatever." They're
Yeah.
human, they
Yeah.
get it. We hurt ourselves by being too flexible for them.
We do. And then, as I got into the business and was a little more successful, I had a great team lead at Keller Williams that insisted that I go on vacation. And she also just told me, look, this was a dollar amount at the time. You're going to go on vacation and you're going to lose, or you're not going to make $10,000. But you know what? It's going to be okay. And to keep your sanity is going to allow you to make way more than $10,000. And she was so right.
Yeah, and typically everyone says as soon as you plan a vacation, you get on the plane, phone rings, right?
Inevitable.
That's
Yeah.
always the case.
And now
Bizarre.
you really have no excuse. Back when I started, I used to go to Mexico a lot, and I went to this place where there was no internet service. Changed, and now you're really never too far away, but you still have to make that time.
Yeah, you got to go. All right, so there's a lot of crazy in this business too. A lot of things people say that just you shake your head at and just wish you never heard it, or they just stop saying it. What is there anything out there that just is like sticking a bamboo in your fingernail?
Yeah, that we are too expensive. Why pay us? It is a lot of money, and particularly on Nantucket and on the Cape when we were selling those really expensive houses, it's almost ridiculous how much money agents were making. But at the same time, it also came with a lot of responsibility.
Heck yeah.
And, I think sometimes the higher end clients, they expect a little more. And sometimes you're the clients I tell people I'm sold a lot of luxury real estate, but I'm not too proud to sell in any price range. And sometimes you can work harder in the lower price range.
That's absolutely true.
It's
On
all
both
over.
sides of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So we all have themes running through our head, theme songs, music to keep us sane. What's going on in your head right now?
Well, I have learned, again, starting over is not easy, especially my age. And I have learned to really just take a step back and breathe.
Yeah.
I'm starting to breathe. I take 3 deep breaths and I'm ready to go. And, I'm also constantly telling myself, you've only probably got a few good years left, make it count. So I'm working really hard. And at the same time, I'm at the point in my life where I can be a little bit more choosy what I want to do and who I want to represent. And I guess my mantra right now is I think when you're starting out in real estate, you should always say yes. But right now, I'm telling myself it's okay to say no, even to clients. I mean,
Yeah.
just like I think you were talking earlier about an agent who turned down several listings
Yeah.
because the sellers were very unrealistic. There's a lot of that, and it's okay to say no.
That's better for them. It's better for you. And to say yes and then disappoint.
Yeah,
That's
and you know what?
Miss it.
So many of us agents think that, oh, I just need to get in the door. I just need to get the listing, and then I can work on price later. I'm
Right.
like, don't do a disservice to them. Don't do that disservice to yourself. Just be realistic, be honest. You know what? That business is going to come back to you. So
Yeah, absolutely.
just yeah,
All right. Well, Kenny, thanks for coming on the show. We're keeping these short and simple. My new approach. I appreciate the candor and the laughs.
yeah,
I really appreciate what you do for your clients and how you make it easy for them. And that's what we all should be doing. And that comes with a lot of professionalism. Right from the very beginning, you had that.
indeed.
That's fantastic. So if
Well, thank
somebody
you.
wants to reach you in Chicagoland, what do they got to do?
They can email me, Kenny, Kenny at Jameson.
SIR.com.
Yep,
Very cool.
and
Kenny,
it's been a real pleasure seeing you again. And this was fun.
yeah, I appreciate your time. And for viewers, please subscribe. We get phenomenal agents like Kenny on at least weekly. Be your best. Have fun.